Thank you so much for tuning in to a special Saturday edition of the MMA Podcast. It's our 41st episode, and it's May 4th, 2013. Got a lot to break down. UFC 159 was very exciting, very unique in a lot of different ways. We'll get to that in a little bit. And, of course, the week in MMA, we mentioned it's a special Saturday edition. We're doing it on Saturday because it is Chris's birthday, and we will have yours truly from the MMA, or from Word on the Street, Ramsey, saying him happy birthday. We got a lot to talk about in this episode. We finally don't have a fight to break down. We had 4 weeks in a row doing that. But without any further ado, let's do it.
You're listening to the MMA Podcast with Jake and Chris.
And hopefully we can have Lenny Hart back on the show again sometime soon so she can add in Ramses and Yao into her little call. Thanks so much for tuning into the MMA Podcast. The call-in number is 213-457-3380, like it is always. Skype at the MMA Podcast. You always can listen live by just Googling Ustream, the MMA Podcast, and we should pop up. And as always, it is myself. We're joined by Ramses, Yao, and Chris. Ramses, what's the word on the street, brother?
Let me tell you what the word is, all right? Since UFC 159, I've been put over the top. I got over 1,000 followers now on the Twitter, the Aunt Jimmy Show on Twitter. It's ridiculous. I'm getting recognized in public all the time. Just 2 days ago, Make-A-Wish Foundation comes up to me. They're like, "Look, this kid's a real big fan of your work. You mind coming by the hospital and hanging out with him or whatever?" I was shocked. I was like, the word on the street is taking effect here. People are listening. They want the latest UFC rumors and news, all the hard-hitting shit that no one else talks about. So by the time I got to the hospital, the kid was dead. But you follow me, the Aunt Jimmy Show on Twitter, and you'll live forever. That's the word on the street.
Ramses called the child's death a work in front of his parents. Yao, what is going on in Queens, brother?
Nothing much, guys. I just got to say, this is the greatest MMA podcast on Twitter in the world. Yeah. Guys, just listen, give us a chance. Jake, he's doing his thing. Ramses is doing his thing. Chris is doing his thing. These guys are great. Listen in, you won't regret it.
Yao is our token black fighter on the podcast. Oh. And of course, we've got Chris Lowe. It is your birthday today. Before we pass it off, I think Ramses and myself have a little something prepared. And a 1 and a 2 and a happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Chris Lowe. Everybody, happy birthday to you.
See, the backups there.
Gentlemen, thank you. You're giving me chills. You are giving me chills, guys. I appreciate it. It's a goddamn pleasure to be here. Like Yao was saying, tune in. Don't miss it. If you listen to this podcast, your penis will double in size. It's a goddamn fact. And thanks for joining us tonight. I'm ecstatic. I'm to the moon, Alice. It's been an absolute exciting and pleasureful birthday for me, and I'm getting fucked up, so enjoy me at this level while it lasts, because it's going to get dark.
It's going to get dark real quick. Yep, I can personally verify your dick will double. My dick is now 2 inches. It's a beautiful thing. You can listen to this show. This is a Saturday episode, but starting next week, and hopefully every week following, we're going to be doing a Friday show. And that show is going to be 6 to 8 Eastern, 3 to 5 Pacific. If you're in the UK, It's going to be late as fuck. I don't know, 11 p.m. to 1 a.m., I guess, if you're in the UK. And we also do the MMA Roundtable. Speaking of the UK, we have us, we got Ray, we got Jay, we got Patrick. Basically us plus the guys from MMA Mental. We all talk about the week in MMA, go around the roundtable, and that's every Thursday, 5 to 7 Eastern, 2 to 4 Pacific. You can listen to archive views on iTunes or YouTube. Just search the MMA Podcast, and you should be able to find us. Obviously, Twitter, we're at the MMA Podcast. We'll start off with UFC 159. It didn't go the way a lot of us wanted it to go, in that I think at least a couple of the co-hosts on this show and a lot of our listeners are pretty big Chael Sonnen fans. We'll get to that fight last. But before we get to the main card, what were your thoughts on the card in general? We'll start it off with the man who turns 37 today. No, I'm just joking. The man whose birthday it is, Chris Lowe.
Listen, guys, age is just a number. I mean, look at all these old-ass motherfuckers that were working out. Well,
you're a beautiful 26. You're a beautiful 26, Chris.
Thanks, man. I haven't peaked yet. Goddammit. Overall, the card was pretty weird, to be quite honest, man. I mean, I'm sure we'll broach the topic plenty of times. You guys have actually broached the topic already, but, we had a lot of satanic stuff happening. The facts are there. We had a lot of crazy things going on with eye pokes and broken bones. Other than that, I enjoyed the knockouts, and I thought that the main event, I felt vindicated, man. I called it. I said there's no way in hell Chael wins this fight. I think that he'll do better than most people think, but I kind of feel like I was right, gentlemen.
I don't know if you can feel too vindicated when Jones was a minus 700 favorite, but it's your birthday, so I'll agree with you and say that you must feel incredibly vindicated. Ramses?
I'm not going to lie to you people. This card ended up being disappointing overall, but it was one of the greatest cards ever put together. What can I say, man? The problem is there are people in the MMA industry and world who worship the forces of evil. Chris, you were alluding to this. Satan was at work here. The dark side, not the dark side that you and I have come to love. Not Team Dark Side. I'm talking the real dark side. I'm talking Luciferian, satanic, demonic, evil shit was at work here at UFC 159, which will, from here on out, be referred to as the most cursed card in UFC history. But more on that later, guys. More on that later. Yeah, what'd you think, man?
The card itself, it was weird, as Chris said, with the whole, broken bones and eye pokes and all that nonsense. But, it turned out well with the main event, I guess, had the icing on the cake. But it was all right.
Fuck yeah, and a note I forgot to add in at the top of the podcast. I know a lot of people are wondering about that Mayweather versus Guerrero fight. We aren't going to give you the round by round, but it should end when the podcast is going on. We'll let you know who won. We'll let you know what round Floyd Mayweather knocked this fool out. As much as you hate him, he is good as fuck, and he's more than likely going to get the win tonight.
I'm watching it right now, man. He's not up yet, but
fuck yeah.
Yeah,
all right,
I got it going. I'll let you know.
Let us know when the fight starts, just so we all have a general idea. And that brings us to our next topic. We are going to break down UFC 159. We're going to start with what was my favorite fight of the card. Definitely a memorable card. You had Pat Healy coming over from Strikeforce fighting Jim Miller. Healy was a pretty big underdog, and he went in there, and he looked incredible. I mean, both guys are amazing fighters. Miller, every fight he gets into, it's a goddamn war. He's almost like the Shogun of the lightweight class at this point. You just know he's gonna get in there, and it's gonna be all out. Healy really, really impressed, though. These guys coming over from Strikeforce, Josh Thompson and Pat Healy, look really good. What did you guys think of Healy, who submitted Miller in the third round, and what's next for him? Chris?
Man, you know what? There can't be enough said about these guys coming over from different promotions. You guys were with me back when the WC got folded in. I myself thought that they would do pretty well. They definitely excelled. They went above and beyond what I initially thought. Now you have these Strikeforce guys coming over. Josh Thompson, Gilbert Melendez, really impressing the hell out of me, man. I had no idea that they would put on these kind of performances, and they proved in one night that these guys are legit. They are a threat. I think Pat Healy is fucking incredible, man. I thought Jim Miller had his number, and he really showed what Irish Pride is about. That guy, you got to put him away, man. If you can't put him away, you are tough shit out of luck, because he's coming after you from bell to bell. So I am very impressed with Bam Bam.
Hell yeah, it was the battle of the groundskeeper Willies. But I told you, Patrick Bam Bam Healy, representing the Pacific Northwest, was going to triumph. This was going to be an excellent debut, well, re-debut, whatever you want to call it. It wasn't really a comeback because, like LL Cool J said, I'm not even going to quote him. Patrick Bam Bam Healy really impressed, but I got to be honest, I was wanting to watch 159 all over again, because when I watched it, I've only seen it once. When I watched it originally, live, I was so damn preoccupied with the main event, I was barely paying attention to the other fights. It's hard to focus. So, but this fight I actually did focus on, and it was great. Bam Bam Healy's here to stay. He's title bound, in my opinion. Yeah, what do you think the truth really is here?
I really thought Jim Miller had this in the bag. I really did, and I feel bad for him because he's kind of becoming a gatekeeper, if you will, and that's really horrible. But I have to give my hat off to Pat Healy. I honestly didn't know who he was until this fight was put together. I got a kind of brief description of him, leading up. But he finished Jim Miller in his own hometown, so hats off to him.
I said it before the fight, and I'll say it again with even more conviction now. I think Pat Healy is going to be the man to take the championship belt out of Benson Henderson's hands. Miller, you mentioned him being a gatekeeper, and that argument definitely can be made with him going 2-3 in his last 5. But you look at the guys he's lost to, and Benson and Pat, who I think are both future UFC lightweight champions, and Nate Diaz, who was on a tear. I don't know if that Bendo loss really took the wind out of his sails, but Nate Diaz looked like a monster in the Miller fight, and he looked just not inspired recently against Thompson. But these Strikeforce guys are looking good. I'm definitely going to keep an eye out for them going forward. You got guys like Safadine beating Marquardt. Just a lot of these Strikeforce guys we didn't expect much out of, and we are seeing a lot out of. A light heavyweight match, Phil Davis defeating Vinny Magalhaes via decision, unanimous. I don't know why, but one of the judges gave a round to Vinny, the other two scoring at 30-27 for Phil. What did you guys think of the fight? What did you think of Davis? Davis really did what he needed to. Going into it, I was saying that Phil wasn't going to be able to finish the fight standing up, and he's been talking so much trash that he might actually be foolish enough to engage Vinny on the mat, which he was not. He did not grapple with Vinny whatsoever, kept the fight standing, and he doesn't have that knockout power, so he pretty much just sparred his way to a judge's nod. It was not a very exciting fight. Chris, what did you think? I actually got the phrase glorified sparring match from you, and I think that pretty much defines this fight pretty well.
Yeah, definitely. Phil Davis, man, I mean, I really thought that he was going to lose to Vinny. Team Darkside on this one. But you can't knock the guy too much for his performance. I mean, Michael Bisping, that he's got the same kind of style of fighting if you think about it. Michael can't knock anyone out. He can't submit anybody. He just does the Nick Diaz pitter-patter until someone gives up or the ref calls it. So that's kind of the style that he was bringing into this fight. I wasn't really impressed. Davis did well enough. His striking still doesn't look that great. A little bit better. But before, I end this thing, me and Yao the Truth had a bet the last time that we spoke. And if I lost, I would have to do blackface. And if Yao lost, he would have to do whiteface. But that being said, I thought it was based off of submissions. If Vinny submitted Phil, then he would have to do whiteface. If Phil submitted Vinny, I would have to do blackface. Do we still have to do that, Yao? What's the truth?
No, it was based on submission, so we don't have to.
I really wanted to see Chris in blackface.
Hey, yeah, I was totally willing to fucking go the mile for it, but that being said, maybe next time we should, grow a bigger set of nuts, dude, and fucking make a better bet, one with a little more on the line.
Yep.
No doubt.
Ramses, what'd you think of your boy Vinny getting UD'd pretty handily by Phil Davis?
I'm not going to lie to you, gentlemen. My heart's a little broken here. I had Vinny all the way. I thought he had it in the bag. There was no doubt in my mind about this fight. Look, he for some reason, he wasn't going for the shoots, man. He wasn't going for the takedowns as often as you would think he should. He was waiting for that shit to kind of happen in the fight. That was a big mistake if that was part of his game plan. Just to wait for it to happen. You have to make his ground game would have annihilated this man, but he had to initiate it. He has to get it there. What the fuck? He probably just spent the whole training camp working on just his ground game and not fucking taking this man down, thinking it was just an inevitability or some shit. But I love you to death, Vinny. Who knows? Maybe I'm just all wrong here. Maybe they just, sprinkled some powder in your water bottle. I don't know, man, but he gassed out a little bit, and that was where he went wrong, but he will be back. I mean, let's face it, he took on a top 10 guy. He got paid a little bit of money, he got a little bit on the, he got to fight on the fucking main card. Either way, it was a win-win for Vinny, I gotta tell you. So that's the word on the street.
Now, guys, I have to apologize for Ramses. A couple podcasts ago, he said that this fight is compared to someone giving you the stock exchange on Wall Street or something. You cash in huge on this fight, put all your money on Vinny Magalhaes. I apologize, people. I do. I told Ramses this would not be a total ground match, that Phil could outstrike Vinny, and he did, if you guys remember that. He did. I was proud of him.
Boom.
He did. Got to do the win. And one more in the win column for the black guy.
One more for the black guy. That's actually pretty good. Oh my god. Alright, well, before I hand it off to the black guy for his training journal, I want to talk about one more fight, and that is Roy Nelson versus Chick Congo. Chris gloated a little bit about Joan Sonnen. I gloated a little bit about Healy Miller. Yao gloated a little bit about Davis Magalhaes. I'm going to go back to gloating myself. There's really two kinds of fights that Roy Big Country Nelson gets into. He gets into unanimous decisions where he gets the shit beat out of him and he loses handily and you wonder how he didn't get knocked out. And he knocks people out in the first round. Congo's not the kind of guy who's going to go 15 minutes. And, Roy knocked him out in the first round. That overhand right. If there's one thing, if I was in Czech Congo's camp, I would have said, Czech, there's one thing. You can win this fight if you avoid the overhand right knockout in the first round. If you can avoid that, I think you win. Czech Congo did not avoid the overhand right knockout in the first round and lost the fight. What did you guys think? Chris?
You know what? I just really don't give a shit about either of these guys. Roy Nelson, his shtick was kind of funny, being the fat guy coming out to "I'm Fat" by Weird Al and pissing off Dana White. We all love that, but Czech Congo hasn't really been much of anything in a long time. So what's to say, man? He beat up Czech Congo. He beat up Stefan Struve, who is very chinny, and he beat up Dave Herman in his. Was that Stefan Struve? He knocked out somebody. I can't even fucking remember who. Matt Mitrione. Yeah. There you go. It's forgettable. He's very forgettable. His win record is forgettable. The moment he steps into the octagon with a top 10 guy, he loses. Czech Congo's on his way out. Fucking boo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. Chris is wrapping it up nicely here for you people. This fucking fight was a who gives a shit. Nobody cared. because nobody's really a Roy Nelson fan or a Czech Congo fan. Like, really? I mean, like, you don't have their fucking posters hanging up on your wall is what I'm saying, people. But yeah, this fight, it was a gimme. Somebody was gonna get knocked out. That's what happened. So it lived up to the fucking expectations. But I was just waiting for this thing to be over. It was gonna be one more fight closer to the fucking main event. You know what I'm saying? God bless you, Roy Nelson. But I'm still, no matter what he does, like, part of me is just always gonna feel that Big Country is a bum. I'm sorry. That's the word on the street. Maybe you got something different, Yao. What's up?
This fight was pretty amazing. I was at the fight live, and when it happened initially, I didn't even see it happen because the crowd, everybody stood up. It was like they stood up before he even threw the punch. But this fight was pretty amazing. It actually kind of helped the card, because a lot of weird things were happening in the prelims and stuff. So, yeah, congrats to Roy Nelson.
Yeah, we will talk about the weirdness of it. And before we get to Yao's training log, we actually got a tweet from none other than AMS listening to the show. She said, saying to Yao, said, "You are funny." And then 3 emoticons I can't read on TweetDeck. And then in parentheses it says, "Listening to your last comment, one more for the black guy." That actually was a pretty good line.
Solid, Yao.
Solid as fuck. Yao starting to drop those one-liners on us, those bombs, sons. And speaking of Yao, this is the week we're going to debut a couple segments. The first segment we're going to debut, if you're unfamiliar with the podcast, our buddy Yao is actually a up-and-coming amateur MMA fighter training in Queens, New York. He's got his first fight this year. He's entered the Grappling Quest tournament, and he is training, so I thought it'd be pretty interesting to have him break down his week of training. So without any further ado, Yao, give us your weekly training log, buddy.
What's up, people? I am Yao, the truth. I do have a Grapplers Quest tournament coming up July 20th, 2013 in Morristown, New Jersey. I will be doing no-gi, 149 pounds, featherweight. It's 77 days away, but I'm training already. I've been training for this since I first stepped foot in the gym. They always say, your first fight starts way before the bell rings. So, I'm training for it. This week, I trained 6 days, Monday to Saturday. Jiu-jitsu on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. And the rest of the days, I've been doing strength and conditioning and some Thai boxing in between. Helping my friends with their takedowns and wrestling. Doing all aspects, not just training, but also helping coaching and everything. So, this is the first installment of my training diary, if you will. Soon more will come, so watch out.
And just for our listeners, the Grapplers Quest is a no-gi Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournament, correct?
Yes.
So are you planning on making the transition to MMA after this, or are you going to wait a couple years?
Yes, I'm doing this tournament, and then after that tournament, I will have my first amateur fight, MMA fight, in either early winter or late fall this year.
Okay, cool. Do you have a fight promotion in mind yet, or?
Most likely WKA, the World Kickboxing Association. They have many fights in Virginia, so I'm definitely looking to fight under that banner this year.
All right, cool. I think Chris has a question as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yao, please excuse me if you answered this, but your opponent, do you know anything about the guy yet?
For the tournament?
Yes, for your no-gi.
No, it's a tournament style, so it's broken into brackets. So I don't know who I'll be facing. So that's the fun part. You don't know who you're gonna face, so you have to be prepared for anything.
Right.
Right.
sorry, real quick. There's part two. So let's say hypothetically you knew who your opponent was. Would you spend a lot of your training trying to get inside that guy and watch tape, kind of like MMA does, or do you think with grappling tournaments it's a little different?
It's a little bit different because we may not match up necessarily. You know, he could lose in his first match, and I can win mine, and then we'll never, meet up throughout the tournament. So, but I mean, if I did, I wouldn't anyway. I would just, focus on me, focus on my strengths,
Right on, brother. Thank you.
Hell yeah. And definitely, when is Grappler's Quest again?
It is July 20th, 2013 in Morristown, New Jersey.
All right, so a couple months and a couple weeks, we will be bringing you this segment weekly to keep in touch with how Yao is doing. And we thank you very much for bringing us your training log. I'm looking forward to hearing the stuff you're doing and how training's coming along. And you're gonna kick some goddamn ass at Grappler's Quest, son. Goddamn.
That's right. Thanks to the MMA Podcast. Follow them on Twitter, guys.
Fuck yeah. And we got a couple more fights from UFC 159 to break down. The co-main event, Michael Bisping defeating Alan Belcher. Most of us were rooting for Alan Belcher because he was sort of the good guy the UFC was pitching. But Michael Bisping is an elite fighter. As much of a Chael Sonnen fan as I am, I think Bisping beat him in that fight where they fought for, I believe that was for the right to fight Silva. Bisping is going to get his title shot eventually. He is an elite fighter, just sort of always on that cusp of almost getting it, then getting knocked back down. That loss to Vanderlei really hurt him. But yeah, he looked very good against Belcher and won the fight. What do you guys think?
Is it my
Chris?
turn? Sorry.
It's been your turn
guys.
every time, son.
sorry. Yeah, guys. So, I mean, this fight, to me, really didn't mean that much. I mean, Alan Belcher kind of fails against top competition. Michael Bisping doesn't really impress, I mean, in my opinion. Yeah, he is a top-tier fighter. He's somewhat exciting. But when was the last time that you saw that Michael Bisping was going to be fighting, and you're like, oh, shit, I can't wait to see Bisping fight this guy? The last time it was, for me, was, when he fought, what's his name? Jesus, I'm fucking blanking out here. The guy he did Tough 15 with. Chael Sonnen? No, the other guy. Fucking guy who had his show. How the hell am I blanking on this right now?
Brian Stain?
Terrible. Before that, Jason Miller. Jesus Christ. Yeah, when he fought Jason Miller, I was excited for that because of the season of The Ultimate Fighter. And then after he did the season with Dan Henderson, I was excited. Other than that, the guy talks a lot of trash. He does back it up, but he doesn't do it impressively. So this fight, for me, I was hoping Alan would win, but I actually said that my heart says Alan Belcher, but I think that Michael Bisping's going to take it, and he did in a weird way.
Yeah, weird way, huh? Look, Michael Bisping did what needed to be done, all right? And he's back. And nobody better fucking question it, all right? He was trying to give it a fair fight, but then, he was just like, I gotta do what needs to be done. Time to shut it down. It's time for the main event anyway. So we saw the eye poke. Make no mistake, all right? Michael Bisping, he knows exactly what he's doing at all times. So poor Alan Belcher, but it's not a coincidence that he happened to poke the one eye that Belcher had the surgery on or whatever. Now he's all done. I don't know. It was unfortunate to watch, but it was just another cursed fight. Blame Satan. That's the word on the street. What do you think, Yao Bisping Belcher?
Now, a couple podcasts ago, I said that I didn't see anybody winning this fight decisively. I saw like a DQ or a cut or an eye poke going on. Everybody bashed me. Do you remember, Ramses?
That's right.
That's right. I remember, man.
Thank you for not having amnesia. But, yeah, that's pretty much what happened. The eye poke, and then the judges called it or whatever happened. But I guess great job for Michael Bisping.
Yeah, and Bisping, he's fought in 3 UFC UFC middleweight title eliminators, losing to Dan Henderson at UFC 100, losing to Chael Sonnen at UFC on Fox, Evans vs. Davis, and then again losing to Vitor this January. He's probably going to get another shot at it. I don't know if he gets it immediately or has got to win another one, but, I don't think he has the tools to beat a guy like Anderson Silva, but, he's done so much in the middleweight class. People almost think, well, he sort of deserves a shot for the, work he's put in the last few years, beating a lot of guys. Sexy Yam, after he lost to Vanderlei, they gave him shit opponents for 4 straight fights. He lost, and they gave him Dan Miller, Sexy Yama, Jorge Rivera, and Jason Miller. All those opponents are garbage. And then finally, after having to sort through that garbage for a couple of years, he got Sonnen, Stan, Belfort, and Belcher. Top guys at least, and I think he will be getting top competition. Talking about facing top competition, Chael Sonnen fighting Anderson Silva and John Jones back-to-back is no easy feat, and unfortunately he did lose to John Jones. We'll save the early stoppage talk for the next time around, because I sort of want to focus just on that after we talk about this. But yeah, the fight. What did you think of the fight? What's next for Jones? What did you think of Jones? Going into it, I didn't think Jones was mentally there. He was doing things like mooning our listeners in the lobby of the Fighter Hotel, totally contradicting himself in interviews. He just didn't seem like his head was in it, but he looked excellent. He took down Chael Sonnen 3 times, and I'm not sure if Chael Sonnen had been taken down 3 times in his entire career before that. We all knew that Chael Sonnen, the only chance he had in this fight was his wrestling, and if he was the inferior wrestler, he wasn't going to win. And I actually believed going into it that Sonnen was the superior wrestler. We'd never really seen a top guy like Chael go into it and really push him. Like Shad is a great wrestler, but I think he only went for 2 takedowns the entire fight, and that was in like the 3rd and 4th round. Jones is an incredible wrestler. I gained a lot of respect for the fighter, John Jones. I'm not saying the person, John Jones, but the fighter, John Jones. He went in there against one of the top 5 wrestlers in the UFC and played his own game and wrestled him and beat him. And I think Jones looked excellent. What's next for him? He's saying Gustafsson. I really don't want to see Jones Gustafsson because I know Gustafsson's going to just die in the cage. But I guess if people are calling for it, fight Gustafsson, fight the winner of maybe Lyoto versus just he's gonna murder everyone at light heavy, and he's not gonna get a challenge until he moves up. Chris, what do you think of the fight?
Well, I'll tell you what, man. To preface this, it's one of those things where you compare this to the build-up, and how the hell can you compare this to the build-up, man? I just couldn't believe it. What Ramses had done in making people care, making people want to see. Me myself, I was really actually nervous. Had a little butterflies leading up to it, man. So that was a great thing that Ramses did on his podcast.
He's like David Koresh.
He's like David Koresh, or it's kind of like being a filmmaker with a $10,000 budget and being told that you have to top the Avengers. What are you going to do? You can't really do it.
Just film myself wanking it 10,000 times.
That would top something. So it was really crazy, man. This fight was nuts. Jones definitely looked visibly shaken, before the fight. Obviously, he's looking at his record, his legacy. He had to top Tito Ortiz with this performance. Chael had talked a lot, and there was obviously a lot of anxiety for him leading up to it. Like, what if I lose? You could see it, man, jumping over and hugging his mom and dad. I mean, that's some real serious shit we've never seen from the guy. And I thought that his performance was amazing. That being said, I guess his devil worship finally bit him in the ass with that broken bone that Ramses has been talking about for the last couple months. It's crazy.
They don't call him bones for anything. Listen, people, short story. It was an early stoppage. Chael Sonnen is the rightful light heavyweight champion of the world. Long story, there was satanic influence over this card. I know it sounds ridiculous, people, but just you saw what happened. You saw the weirdness. If you were a real fan, maybe if you've ever read the Bible or gone to church, maybe if you're a good person, you heard that voice. You heard that evil, creepy voice that came on during the broadcast on UFC.tv during the Bisping Belcher fight, right before the main event was about to get underway. There was a chanting, a summoning of the devil. We all saw what happened. Jon Jones had superhuman strength that cannot be explained. Now listen, people, like Chael said, it's no thing. It was a good time. Don't cry about it. He is not retiring. And I just want to point out to you people that this whole fight with Jones, this was just all an elaborate scheme to get the real fight that he wanted with Wanderlei Silva. And so hats off to Chael Sonnen. He does it once again. Another big money fight lined up. But this fight was bullshit. It was stopped early, and Chael Sonnen would have become the champion had he just been given a few more seconds.
We will talk about the early stoppage in a second, Ramses. Yeah. You motherfucker. Yeah. What'd you think of the fight?
I really excuse me. I really enjoyed this fight, even though I wanted Chael Sonnen to win very badly. I really enjoyed this fight. I like nothing more but to see a fighter go in and perform, not just fight, not just, just go in there and throw punches and kicks and takedowns, but to really perform as a fighter. And that's what Jon Jones did. He went in there and he just performed, and the way the fight went, I really feel like Jones decided to take Chael down because he was scared to strike with him. So, other than that, my hat is off to Jon Jones, and he's a great.
Yeah, and I did want to talk about the early stoppage. I have mixed feelings on the early stoppage. I did think it was a few seconds too soon. I do think it was an early stoppage, but I want to preface that with two things. Number one, I think it was early, but I don't think Chael Sonnen would have improved his spot in the next 5 seconds. And if Jones would have continued the onslaught for another 5 seconds, I think the ref would have been correct to stop the fight. Two, as a Chael Sonnen fan, I hate to say this, but I'm glad it was an early stoppage, because if it was an early stoppage and Chael had somehow brought it to the second round and Jon Jones would have gone to his corner and the fight would have been stopped and Chael would have been given the victory, he would have been given a victory he didn't deserve. It would have been the second bullshit loss on Jon Jones' record, and even though I hate to say it, like I just fucking said five seconds ago, Jones deserved to win the fight. He beat Chael's ass in the first round. This was not like either of the Anderson Silva fights. The first Anderson Silva fight, Chael beat his ass for 23 minutes, and then Silva locks in a sub and ends it. Boom. The second fight, Chael beats Anderson's ass the first round. The second round comes out, throws an ill-fated West Lynn spinning back fist. The West Lynn wind-up. Gets tripped, falls, and gets finished. Anderson Silva, like, literally, the only times he was on the attack was when he was finishing fights. Chael beat him up. This Jon Jones fight was nothing like that. Jon Jones dominated him bell to bell. There was one moment where Chael was clinched up with him, getting a little dirty boxing in, and I was clapping like, all right, Chael. But really, Jones just beat his ass, and I'm glad the fight was stopped early, just because if Sonnen had earned a TKO victory because of Jones' broken toe, it would be a win that he didn't deserve. He, earned it as much as Hamill earned his win against Jones. And, Chael himself said after the fight he got his ass whooped. So I'm glad that when it came down to it, Jones ended up with the victory.
Yeah, it was definitely a evil night tainted by Beelzebub's magic. But as far as was it an early stoppage, to keep it simple on my part, Jake, you pretty much summed up the way I feel. No, it wasn't. It was a 4-minute and 33-second pillar to post ass whooping. And to say that was an early stoppage after having done zero offense and being completely dominated in that fashion and covering up, we've seen a lot worse, man. And we all know that Chael wouldn't have wanted it that way. If he would have gotten the championship through the fact that John Jones couldn't actually continue, Chael wouldn't have wanted that, guys. He definitely wouldn't. And yeah, he could have called himself champion, but it wouldn't have been in the best way possible.
Look, the referee, Keith Peterson, he heard the toe. He probably even saw it snap. All right, so at that moment, he's thinking to himself, "Oh Jesus, I know it's coming," because he's been warmed up for it the whole night with these weird stoppages, technical decisions. Keith Peterson's like, "Man, I'm gonna end this fight at the first opportunity," and that's what we saw. And it was too early. The People's Champion. Look, guys, you ever see any Rocky movie where it's the big fight at the end, and what happens right before Rocky wins? He gets like hurt real bad. It goes into slow motion. Adrian! That's right. And then he starts having all the memories and he starts summoning all the thoughts about his training and the people he loves and cares about. It takes a couple of seconds. And then he makes his great comeback and wins the fight. Chael was in the middle of that shit, that Rocky shit, that deep shit. And then, we see this idiot referee, Keith Peterson, step in. He does have Luciferian Illuminati tattoos all over him. He was in on it, people. All right? These refs make $1,000 a night. So all you got to do is have $1,001 to buy these fucking people. That's what went down. That's the word on the street. Still undefeated.
So wait, they have to turn down their $1,000 if you pay them? I don't get it. Yeah, what did you think of the early stoppage?
It did seem a little early, but Chael was hurt. He was hurt. We all saw those elbows, so I kind of almost like that it was stopped pretty early, so he didn't get any more damage than he already was. But as far as the stoppage, I mean, like Chael said in his fight against Anderson Silva in the second fight, he was coiled up like a spring. I kind of think he was coiled up like a spring in this fight too, but then the ref stopped it. So, he'll be all right.
Definitely. And I guess, yeah, we will talk about Sonnen, and one of the things I was planning on talking about who his next opponent will be, but I think we figured out that will be Vanderlei Silva. We will talk about that a little later on in the show, but before that, we got to get to the news. And our first bit of news does have to do with UFC 159. I mentioned earlier, this was the weirdest card in recent memory. You had a lot go down during the OSP Gian Villante fight. I believe it was. I'm scrolling up to look at it. Yeah, it was the OSP Villante fight. OSP is winning the fight, and in the third round, accidentally eye pokes Gian Villante. And Villante cowers back. The ref, Kevin Mulhall, realized Villante's been poked in the eye, says, "Can you see?" which is a standard referee question. If the fighter says yes, you say, "All right, keep on fighting." And if they say no, you say, "All right, he gets five minutes to take a break." Gian Villante said, "No, I can't see." Kevin Mulhall should have given him the 5 minutes. Instead, he ends the fight. Are you fucking kidding me? He took the opportunity for Villante to come back. He would have had 4.5 more minutes left in the third round, but instead it just goes to a straight technical judge's nod. OSP wins the third round in their eyes for winning. Luckily, one of the judges did give the third round a 10-10 score, but the other judges gave it to OSP. It was just not a good fight. You had other really weird things. You had Yancy Medeiros, I believe you pronounce his name. He fell over. dislocated his thumb after a judo throw. That was a TKO. You had during the Bisping-Belcher fight, Belcher gets poked in the eye. That goes straight to a judge's nod, which I don't feel as bad because Belcher only had 30 more seconds and didn't look like he was going to finish that fight. You had Buffer mess up a call for the second time in memory. The first time was recently. It was at the last event when he said Johnny Hendricks was in the main event. This time he fucked up the wrong fighter's name. He said Miller instead of Healy. He was wearing a black suit or a red suit. You obviously had Jones snapping his toe in half. You had a weird voice. I believe it was during the Bisping-Belcher fight. While the camera showed Bisping in his corner, this weird-ass voice came over the telecast if you were watching online and said something like, Jerry Rips! Jerry Express! It sounded like fucking Trogdor was coming over the mic. It was you're in Prudential Center, the home of the New Jersey Devils. It is a full moon, just a lot of weirdness. The group who owns and operates the arena, I'm not making this up, their name of the business is Devils Arena Entertainment. Just a lot of satanic stuff, a lot of weird stuff going on. What moment or moments stood out to you, Ramses?
You nailed it right there at the tail end, man. It was the demonic voice, the invoking of Satan himself, sweet, sweet Lucifer. We all heard it. Well, I heard it. There's no question about what it was. It was a verse from the Satanic Bible. It's already proven fact. People, that was the weirdest damn thing, that they would let it go out in the open, just rub it in our face. That's what the New World Order wants. It was disgusting to me. I knew exactly what it was, exactly when it happened. It happened right before the main event, people. I'm telling you, you have to look. Don't look to where the money is. Just, oh man, you people aren't gonna believe me. You'll never fucking listen to the word on the street. But I'm telling you, if it wasn't for the devil himself, Chael Sonnen would have that 12 pounds of gold right now. That's the word on the street. Yeah, what was the weirdest moment of UFC 159 for you, dude?
I think I was taking a piss break, but
I'll tell you what's
happening.
I was just gonna say it's probably where Yao is right now. Mr. Floyd Money Mayweather just walked out, and they're announcing the fight now. There's Lil Wayne, and
nice.
So it's getting underway.
Yeah, I was probably cheering on his fellow black guy. Chris, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, guys. This entire card from bottom to top was strange. I was a little skeptical when you guys were bringing this shit up. As much as it made me laugh, I was like, all right, well, is this just good radio? Does it really mean anything? And I'll tell you what, that shit played out perfectly. I am a follower. There were a lot of things that were happening that can't be explained. A lot of people that you saw performing things that are against their character. So I think that the hands of a lot of people in this event were being controlled by Lucifer himself. Gentlemen, I'm on board.
A lot of people were doubting us. I believe it was the special UFC 159 edition, just 24 hours before the fight. This is the Word on the Street podcast. If you don't know what we're talking about, you're missing out. But we mentioned before the show that it was going to be a weird show. That John Jones had asked for his own locker room that he could paint black. And he also asked for a pint of goat's blood to draw a giant ceremonial pentagram in the middle, put candles at the 5 points of the star, and sacrifice a virgin.
The toe was the sacrifice also.
It also was the sacrifice. The virgin escaped, so they had nothing other than John Jones' toe, which was one of the only appendages on his body that had not been stuck into somebody's asshole.
Yes.
So, they needed a virgin. They took his toe. Jones knew that even though it was going to be very painful, they had to pay back the Dark Lord somehow. Yeah, are you with us yet? Yeah, I was taking the longest piss in recorded history.
Here. Guys,
wow.
I'm here. Listen up.
It's
making him sound like Yao Tyson.
Right?
Listen, everybody. I'm training hard. I'm doing God's work.
Yeah, because Yao is super fucking religious. I guess we'll catch up with Yao. You know, black people have heard their schlongs are so giant it takes them like 6 to 7 minutes to piss. They're like horses, so we will get back to them. God, this is taking a weird turn. There was in the Belcher Bisping was probably the top one. The poke to the eye of Belcher. Oh wait, Yao is actually back this entire time. God damn it, Yao! What moment or moments stood out to you in this weird UFC 159 card?
As far as like anything weird happening?
Yeah, weird ass shit.
Probably the Jones toe. No, excuse me, Buffer reading the wrong name. That was epic.
Yeah, and he was wearing that red suit. I knew shit was amiss with him wearing that red suit. One of the other weird things that went down, Michael Bisping and Alan Belcher was ended 30 minutes prematurely because of an eye poke. We've heard people, like Rogan especially, say the gloves are fucked up. I don't know if I really agree, because I think really this model of glove is the only thing you're going to be able to get that you can effectively punch and grapple with. Dana White seems to disagree with Joe, saying what else can you do? You've got to have people's fingers able to be free to move to grapple, and you can't poke people in the eye. Like, even if you have fabric over the person's finger, they're still going to have the ability to poke people in the eye. Matt Hughes came out saying that hands are responsible, fighters' strategies are responsible, not gloves, and I agree with that. I don't think the gloves are responsible. But what is responsible for all these eye pokes? Gloves or hands? Yeah?
It's the hands. I mean, if you know what you're doing, like, there should be automatic, like, point deductions or something if the ref sees you flashing your fingers in your opponent's eye, because that can set up, an eye poke eventually further down in the fight. So it's the fighters, honestly. If they just, close their fists, then this won't happen.
Yeah, I definitely would have to agree with Yao on this one. There's a lot of guys out there that never poke anyone in the eyes. I mean, think about it, GSP, Anderson Silva, Cain Velasquez, you can't think of it, but then you look at guys like Darren Cruikshank, Josh Koscheck, it just happens over and over and over again. So I think it's not just the hands, it's also, the guy that's using them, man. Don't train with your fingers open, and don't be an asshole, and I don't think it'll happen. As far as gloves go, I think that if there was an easy solution or something that could be done about the gloves that could kind of facilitate a change with all this stuff, it would have been done already. There's plenty of great minds in the sport. I just don't think that in mixed martial arts to have the kind of, ability to use your fingers without sacrificing, safety. I think that if you put more padding in certain areas, you're not going to have as much flexibility with your hand to make them effective for grappling.
Look, people, there is no such thing as an unintentional eye poke. All right? I've done my share of fighting. I know what the fuck I'm talking about. It's always on purpose. When was the last time you stabbed somebody in the eyeball with your finger? Come on, people. Let's get real here. I know the angle here, though. Your people are, the topic is what is responsible for eye pokes, the gloves or the hands. I know what you're trying to do, people. You're trying to blame the gloves or the hands when you should be blaming the person, the mind. This podcast is just a bunch of hand grabbers trying to take away my hands, my fingers, my gloves, and you can take them over my cold, dead hands. Word on the street.
Word on the fucking street. And we will get to a couple more topics, but before that, we got our 10 solid seconds of sports, where I try and break down the week in sports in just 10 seconds, because nobody else has got time for that shit. Ain't nobody got time for that. So yeah, let's do it. 10 solid seconds of sports. NHL and NBA playoffs are in full swing as the first round gets going. The NFL draft was last week. A bunch of no-name linemen went first. Jason Collins becomes the first active player in the Big Four sports come out of the closet, much of the dismay of closed-minded fucksticks nationwide. Shazam! And that is 10 solid seconds of sports. Yeah, the next topic I wanted to talk about was Czech Congo getting cut from the UFC. Simply put, did he deserve it? News did come out that he had the option to get a 4-fight extension before the Nelson fight. He turned it down. That probably spurned the UFC into cutting him, sort of, oh, we told you so. We know how Dana can be pretty vindictive. Should Congo have gotten cut? I don't think so. I don't think he's a top 10 heavyweight, but at the same time, I think he offers a lot of lower tier 265-pound fighters a challenge. And I mean, you can't forget about Congo Barry. What a fucking fight. If you're going to keep Barry around after all those losses, you got to keep Czech. What do you guys think, Chris?
Well, to keep it kind of short and sweet here, Czech Congo is a very scary-looking dude. He looks like someone who should be a henchman in a James Bond movie, or maybe like a background player in some kind of political film. The dude really just doesn't deliver anymore. He's getting knocked out quite a bit, and he's just not looking like the guy of old. Does that deserve a cut? I say, yeah, man. They want to get in new talent, new blood. He's taking up a roster slot. Get this guy out of here.
Yeah, this fucking Czech Congo guy, he's out of his mind. He's delusional, saying, I'm still a UFC fighter. No, you're not. If you don't have a contract anymore and you don't have a fight coming up, you're not a UFC fighter. How about this, Czech? I'm a WWE fighter. How about that shit? I just don't have a contract and I don't have a wrestling match coming up. Cocksucker, get this guy out. Get the clown out. I'm tired of seeing him. The heavyweight division's a joke anyway. That's the word. What do you think, Yao? I don't know.
Yeah, if he's not delivering, then he's taking up a spot on the roster, and he's probably very expensive. And if you're expensive and you just keep losing and you're declining, then they're gonna cut you, just like John Fitch.
Kind of like a hooker who can't get you off.
Exactly,
right.
And we all know how Yao can relate to that. The next issue I wanted to get to, sort of speaking of, I also wanted to add, we brought this up briefly on the MMA Roundtable. Ray brought up something pretty interesting. He said it might have something to do with the way he carries himself outside the cage. Apparently Ray saw him once at like the UFC England or Sweden or something, and he apparently was one of these guys who at like the fan events acted like he was above all these guys and, didn't want to be giving his time out and sort of was like, yeah, whatever. And I feel like that probably has a lot to do with it if fans are bitching about him all the time. Before we get to fight tips with Ramses, Brian Caraway apparently convinces Dana White to up the bonuses from $50,000 to $65,000. 4 bonuses a night. That's $60,000 out of the UFC's pocket more every night. And throughout the year, that's going to earn UFC fighters an additional $1.5 million. Sort of this story coming from the UFC, like, yeah, Brian Caraway was bugging me, and I finally said yes. Do you believe this story? I don't. Brian Caraway is the most hated, irrelevant fighter in the world. When he said that he wanted to knock Ronda Rousey's teeth down her throat for talking shit about his girlfriend, everybody hated him after that. And I sort of feel like this is just a move by the UFC to sort of get everybody off of Brian Caraway. I mean, there are fighters who are hated just as much as him, but those are champions. You're talking about guys like John Jones, Tito Ortiz. Brian Caraway's a nobody, and everybody still hates him. Do you believe it? I don't. Ramses?
Is it Brian Caraway? Is this the guy that gets to have sex with Misha Tate?
Allegedly.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey Brian, if you're listening, how's my dick taste? That's the word on the street. Yeah. What do you think about this Caraway individual?
Honestly, I didn't know that he was in the UFC. I thought, because I know he was on The Ultimate Fighter season 14, I think, with Mayhem and Bisping, but I really did not know he was in the UFC.
Yeah, he's not really made 2 huge waves in the UFC since Tough. Chris, what do you think?
I'll tell you what, guys. It is plain and simple, cut and dry. Ramses asked the obvious question, how's my dick taste? Brian Caraway will find out soon enough when he goes for a smooch. But as far as do I believe this story, I absolutely do. I think that what happened was Brian Caraway, as desperate of a fucking mook as that guy is, went up to Dana White and he offered his prized possession for a night. And that makes a lot of sense because Brian Caraway is actually a noted cuckold.
Word on the street.
Yeah, word on the street. He is noted. I've seen videos, and I thought I recognized, the back of Ramses' head in one of the videos, but now I know it was Ramses. Speaking of Ramses, it is now time for Fight Tips with Ramses. It's all you, man. Take it away.
Thank you, Jake. And what's up, bums? This is Ramses, and I'm here with some fucking fight tips that'll change your life. I know you're out there listening and you're sick of getting beaten up and embarrassed at parties, or maybe every time you go out on a date with your girl, some bigger, stronger guy always starts some kind of beef and ends up beating you like a newborn puppy, and he ends up sleeping with your angel, the love of your stupid life. So listen up and grab some shit. Grab a pencil and paper, a pad to write this shit down, because I'm a black belt in Thug Jitsu. And every week I'll be giving out new fight tips and techniques, and one day I promise you, Thug Jitsu will save your life. Today's fight tip, how to fight a homeless man. Now, here in my hometown of Austin, Texas, every time I go drinking at the bars downtown, I like to carouse, enjoy women, cigars, the scenes. Every time I go downtown, I gotta deal with at least a few homeless people. They're always, jive talking me, trying to talk me into park your car here. I'll watch your car, dude. Begging me for change, trying to tell me their stupid homeless stories. It's disgusting. And every time one of them approaches me, I always fear for my life. Sorry. I always fear for my life and wonder if this is the day that one of them's gonna just go crazy and try to take what I got. So here's what you do. Here's my fight tip. Whenever any homeless man or anybody who's homeless gets within your personal space or touches you, you should always have at least 95 cents in change ready in one of your pockets. And what you do is you throw all those coins at the homeless guy's feet real quick. This will distract him momentarily, and while he's trying to decide whether to rob you or pick up the change, based on instinct, you hit him in the chest with a Superman elbow. It's really important that you only use elbows and not your hands on homeless people, because they're filthy and they carry diseases. And if you hit them in the chest with that elbow, right in the solar plexus hard enough, nothing will happen immediately. But 8 times out of 10, it's going to cause a heart attack, because we all know that homeless bums tend to have bum tickers. You know what I'm saying? So when you induce cardiac arrest, the cops and paramedics, they're just going to assume that the bum died of natural causes, and there will never be an investigation. I do it all the time. And it doesn't matter if there are other people or witnesses, because truthfully, no one gives a damn about homeless people.
Ramses,
Nobody.
This is how to kill a bum.
This is how to kill a homeless person with Ramses.
Those are your words, not mine, and that is the word on the street, and that's your fight tip of the week. Tune in next time. See you at the dojo.
See you at the dojo, cocksuckers. And we will be doing Ramses fight tips every week. We got a couple more news topics. One of them pretty interesting. Before we get to Chael vs. Vanderlei, I want to get to the last guy Vanderlei faced, the last guy Vanderlei lost to. Rich Franklin eyeing a return this year. Should he come back? Should he retire? Or wait, no, I think Vanderlei fought Stan after that. But still, should Rich Franklin come back or retire? He's eyeing a 2013 return. I think he should come back. He did look good in the fight against Vanderlei. Yes, he got the shit knocked out of him against Kong, but he's not punchy. He's still with it. He isn't going to be challenging for the title, but a lot of guys in the UFC aren't challenging for a title. And Franklin, he's one of the good guys in the sport, and I'd like to see him come back. Yeah.
The only reason that he should come back is probably for a paycheck or whatever. I mean, or prize fights, or he shouldn't come back for a title, which he's probably not. He should just come back for prize fights. And I guess there's old school fans that have watched his career in the UFC, so I guess they would like to see him. I mean, me personally, I wouldn't like to see him, but I guess old school fans like yourself would like to see him,
Yeah, I would like to see him personally. Rich Franklin has looked kind of suspect in his last couple fights. I mean, he got rocked, knocked down by Vanderlei, and he got absolutely starched by Kung Lee. So he is looking kind of chinny. He's not looking quite Chuck Liddell level yet. He's still got some miles to him. So personally, yes. But as far as what to do with him, what the hell is the UFC going to do with Franklin? The guy fights at Franklin weight more than anything else. He's not a threat in either division, so you got to make some big-name fights. So essentially what you can do is try and build somebody else up on his name. I just don't see how that can be a good thing for his career.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares about Rich Franklin. Right now, actually, on Fuel TV, they're airing his fight with fucking Vanderlei Silva. He's wearing those pink shorts, coming in there looking like Lloyd Christmas. It's ridiculous. He's a joke, but he is a company man, so we will see him again. I have no opinion on this guy. I don't care what happens to him. I wouldn't even say he's a bum, but he's just like a utility man, like on SNL or something. I don't know. I'm done with Rich Franklin. Word.
Fuck yeah, word on the street. The next topic, which I know we'll spend a little bit of time on, Chael versus Vanderlei being rumored for the UFC on Fox Sports 1 card. The first card, it would be in Boston, apparently. Chael would be fighting 2 times in a row for you lucky bastards up in New England who would get to see him. What do you think about the matchup? I think there's a reason Chael's calling out Vanderlei, not just because of the Van video, which if you haven't seen it, the build-up to, I think, the second Anderson Silva-Chael Sonnen fight. In Austin, Texas, you have Vanderlei Silva and Chael Sonnen in a van talking, and it's Chael sort of doing less of the talking for once, and Vanderlei Silva is in the back seat, basically saying, you don't respect Brazil, you gotta watch out, you gotta respect Brazil, respect the Nog brothers, or else, we have a saying in Brazil, you don't have respect, you don't have your front teeth. And Sonnen was just like, alright, whatever, and he's, sort of brought him up since then as, fodder for his insults, and he called him out saying he wants to fight Vanderlei. What do you think of this matchup? I think it's a nightmare for Vanderlei. Vanderlei does not have good takedown defense. He's going to get taken down by Chael all 3 rounds and just get beat up. It's going to look a lot like the first 4 rounds of Anderson Silva versus Chael Sonnen, but even more of a beatdown. What do you guys think, Chris?
Oh my God, this Vanderlei guy, he was fantastic a long time ago, kind of like legends of age past, man. You look at the Greek gods, they were pretty cool. Where are they now? They're not here. Vanderlei has been given nothing but favorable matchup in his entire UFC career, especially in the last couple years. I mean, the dude is facing Kung Lee, knocking him out, and then Rich Franklin, and barely losing, and then Brian Stann, who has been proven to have a bum chin. Vanderlei is a very emotional fighter. The guy fights with his heart, and that is a good thing. But when you let your emotions take control of you, you're not fighting up to your best ability because you're kind of wasting energy here. Chael fights smart. Chael has fought the better fighters. Chael, I think, has this one in the bag, and I think he's actually going to put a whooping on Vanderlei.
Well said, Chris. But I don't know why you guys keep calling him Vanderlei Silva. His real name is Cesar da Silva, and he lives in Vegas, and he is a fake Brazilian. Chael's going to put a stomping on this guy, and also another rumor about Vanderlei, he is a fancy boy. A fancy boy. You understand?
It's not true.
The shit's going down, man. It's going to be all over for this fucking guy. Chael just wants a little tune-up fight. Can't blame the guy. And who's the better bum? It'll ignite a little fire for both the fans on the Brazilian side. Little old rivalry to just stir up old time's sake. I'm loving this fight. I'm feeling good about it. But it will be one-sided. The people's champion will remain undefeated.
I thought it was pretty interesting. I saw and took part in some extent to a little Twitter trash talk back and forth between friends of Vanderlei and fans of Chael Sonnen. And And I thought it was funny, the Vanderlei fans, the only thing they really could dig up is like, oh, Chael's never won the belt, but Vanderlei did in '06, and he's done more than him. Like, there was no talk about 2013. It was all, oh, you must be a noob because you're a Chael fan. I'm a Vanderlei fan, and I've followed UFC since 1976. Just all this contrived bullshit. When Vanderlei fans can't even shout out a reason why they think Vanderlei would beat Chael. In fact, I think most of them were like, oh yeah, Chael can probably lay on Vanderlei and beat him, whatever. Like, alright, you want to be ignorant to high-level wrestling and admit your fighter's going to lose, that's on you. And sort of in the tune of that, we have a stat of the day this week that has to do with Vanderlei Silva and Chael Sonnen, and I will enlighten you with that stat right about now. Oh, also, stat of the day, big thanks to Jamie Josta from Hatebreed and the Dan Patrick Show, Patrick Seaton O'Connor from the Dan Patrick Show, everyone over there. I guess this does belong to the Dan Patrick Show, but, oh wait, god damn it, Chris, you always have one more thing to say. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say real quick something I've been thinking about, and I know that you guys have been thinking about. When you have this Vanderlei character, everyone has mad respect for the guy. Yao actually has something to say before I do, so Yao, go ahead.
Well, we were going to talk about Vanderlei versus Chael after my stat of the day. Anyway.
Okay. All right. You know what? I'll just say it real quick. I'll get it out of my system. Sorry, guys. I'm reading this chat here. All right. So, how can you really take these Brazilians seriously when they listen to techno and do jiu-jitsu and hug each other, when on the other side of the octagon you have a proven American badass who has beaten the system, owns a pizza joint, and has kind of gotten into our hearts? How the hell can you do that? I can't fight it anymore, guys.
All right, Yao, what did you have to say?
I was just going to voice my opinion on Chael Sonnen versus Vanderlei Silva. Chael, he wanted an easy fight, I see. He calls out a Silva. But we all saw what Chael Sonnen did to Brian Stan after he lost the first time to Anderson Silva. He came out, dedicated, ready to perform. That's what's going to happen against Vanderlei Silva.
Yeah, Vanderlei Silva, if this was 2006 Vanderlei versus 2013 Chael, I would be very interested. But unfortunately, it's 2013 Vanderlei versus 2013 Chael, and 2013 Chael has a big advantage, and that sort of plays into my stat of the day. Once again, shout out to Jamie Josta and the Dan Patrick Show for doing this amazing little riff. But here is the stat of the day.
Start of the day! Start of the day! Start of the day! Start of the day! Here comes the start of the day!
Chael Sonnen and Vanderlei Silva are now rumored to fight each other in Boston in August. Chael Sonnen would be the 7th UFC title contender Vanderlei Silva has fought. In his previous 6 matches, Vanderlei Silva has gone 0-6.
Start of the day! Start of the day! Start of the day! Start of the day! Here comes the start of the day!
And thanks again to Jamie Joss and the Dan Patrick Show. A couple fight announcements, then we'll bring you the fights we're pumped for, and then play it out. Matt Mitrione and Brandon Schaub facing each other in July. Mitrione coming off that suspension to fight Brandon Schaub. I was expecting that they were going to give Matt a guy he couldn't beat, because they would be mad at him for the comments, sort of bury him there. But they are giving him Brendan Schaub, who has proven he does not have the strongest chin in the UFC. And I think Mitrione actually gets the KO victory. Yeah, what do you think?
I gotta take Mitrione. He's a black zillion. I'm behind my team 100%. Whenever they go out there, I'm in full support. Matt Mitrione all the way.
And we're skipping Chris because he has to take a piss. A quick update on the fight. It looks like most people have it after 5 rounds, have it 4 rounds to 1 in favor of Floyd Mayweather. Ramses, what are your thoughts on Mitrione versus Schaub?
Well, first of all, the Floyd Mayweather fight is a sparring match. I'm watching it right here in front of my very own eyes. Mitrione and Schaub, dude, these guys, these heavyweight guys, I just have a hard time caring about them. I don't care. I just want to see a good fight every time. I don't pick favorite heavyweight fighters. I don't get into them on purpose for this reason, because it's a flip of the coin here. One of them's gonna knock the other one out. That's the way it goes. It's a fun fight. I do not bet. Do not bet. That is the word on the street.
That is the word on the street from looking at the fight reviews on Mayweather Guerrero. If you're looking, a lot of people actually have every round of Floyd. Apparently, Guerrero's trying to catch him clean. You're not going to be able to catch Floyd clean. You got to get dirty to catch him. And Guerrero has employed a strategy of not getting dirty in there. He's afraid to get knocked out. Floyd's going to win this fight, probably by unanimous decision, just because it's looking like this podcast might end before the fight does. One more topic before we give you the fights we're pumped for May and close it out. Damian Maia and Josh Koscheck at UFC 163. Most times I would be going for Josh Koscheck, but I feel like looking at their matchup stylistically, wrestling does usually get the nod, but look at the arc of both of these guys' career. Maia's on the way up, Koscheck's on the way down, and I have Maia winning this fight, whether it's by a decision or a submission. UFC 163, which will be August 3rd in Rio, I have Damian Maia all day in front of the home crowd. Chris, you back? And if so, what do you think? Damn, he's taking a long-ass piss, son. Ramses, Maia versus Koscheck, what are your thoughts?
Damian Maia, I've never liked this fucking guy. And, I really have no idea why. It's a mystery, no reason. I just hope he loses. I hope nothing but bad things in life happen to him and only him. So I hope, even though Koscheck is even more of a douche, I hope that Damian Maia takes this one away. Maybe I'll watch it. Maybe I won't. What do you think, Yao, man? Damian Maia versus Josh Koscheck.
This is a very interesting fight, because if Damian Maia can do what he did to John Fitch, to Josh Koscheck, then I think Josh might get cut if he loses that way. But Koscheck is a very, very good wrestler. He should be able to shake Damian Maia off of him. But Damian Maia has been more impressive and more impressive ever since he dropped down to welterweight. So this is a very interesting fight, grappler versus grappler.
Very true, man. Grappler versus grappler, very interesting. I will always have a place in my heart for Josh Koscheck, being the fact that he's Josh, a.k.a. Fraggle Rock, a.k.a. the eye-poking extraordinaire. The guy is a fucking joke. He's an asshole outside of the cage and in the cage. He's been proven to be a dirty-ass fighter. And I think that come fight night, his only chance is that overhand right. Otherwise, I think Damian Maia holds all the cards for victory. The guy outfitched Fitch. I don't think Kos could outfitch Fitch. So that's saying something. And Maia's coming off of 3 wins. Kos is coming off of 2 losses. I got Maia in this one for sure.
For fucking sure. You said we're yelling out all of the AKAs. I was about to interrupt you and say AKA Mugatu. If you're familiar with Will Ferrell's character from, I'm spacing, the Ben Stiller movie where they were models. What's that called? Zoolander. Yeah, there we go, Zoolander. Alright, final bit of the show. The fights we're pumped for May of 2013. Y'all ready? Let us do this shit. Mine's pretty easy, and I feel guilty for using it because I know a lot of us would have probably used it if I hadn't chosen it. But I got Mark Hunt and Junior Dos Santos. This sort of makes me think about Lesnar-Carwin back in the day, because these are the 2 heavyweights that people think have the best punching power in the UFC. You got Mark Hunt, who literally just cracked Stefan Struve's jaw into 2 pieces, busted his skull open. and Junior Dos Santos, who is a scary boxer, has one UFC loss, the recent championship loss to Cain Velasquez. Junior is hungry to get back to the championship. Even Daniel Cormier recently said the only person in the UFC who has a chance to beat Cain is JDS, and I believe that. Hunt and JDS, I don't even know who I'm picking. I'm leaning Junior, but both of these guys have scary knockout power. I can't wait for this shit at UFC 160.
Listen to me, people. The fight that I'm looking forward to the most this month, it's real fucking easy. My man, Gray the Bully Maynard against this bum TJ Grant. Alright? TJ Grant, you're a great fighter, but you're going up against Gray Maynard. A lot of people, he is one of the most underrated fighters in the UFC. Gray Maynard, he's only lost one fucking fight. Alright? That was when he had to take a dive to Frankie Edgar. A lot of people think he loses all the time. He doesn't. One fucking loss. He's 12-1, with one draw, of course. And you got this bum TJ Grant, 20-5. Alright? There's no contest here. Gray Maynard is back. This is just going to be a tune-up fight for him, a formality. I got my money on him. He's my boy. He is one of my favorite fighters, besides the Thug Jitsu master, Brian Ebersol, and of course the People's Champion. So Gray Maynard all the way on this one. What the hell? That's all I got on this one. What do you think, Yao? What's your favorite fight the fight that you're pumped up for this month?
The fight I'm most pumped for this month is Vitor Belfort versus Luke Rockhold. This fight will be amazing. Vitor Belfort is working harder than he ever has in his career. People talk about he's a front runner. If you could drag him into those later rounds, you'll be able to beat him. He is in the best shape of his life. He is training with the best team in the world, the Black Zillions. He is working harder than ever. But let's not forget, Luke Rockhold is one of the best middleweights in the world. Amazing kickboxing with amazing offensive as well as defensive wrestling. This fight will probably determine a number one contender for the middleweight championship. And that's the fight I'm most pumped for this month.
Fuck yeah, Chris.
Oh yeah, brothers. Those are some fucking spectacular calls there. Mine is Donald Cerrone and KJ Noons. As you all know, I'm a huge Donald Cerrone mark. The guy is my absolute favorite fighter, if not, at least tied for number one. Like Jake says all the time, he has an immense toolbox, and the man has never lost in his entire career. Not once. Records can say one thing, but he didn't lose those fights. He gave it to those guys. So, that being said, KJ Noons is kind of one of those guys that, you see being highly skilled and has put up a good test against Nick Diaz in Strikeforce. But to be honest, he's kind of a one-trick pony. You're just getting boxing, and other than that, he's been exposed by guys like Jorge Masvidal being suspect with his boxing because it's not really technical, and he doesn't have good defense. I think Donald Cerrone is going to pull this one off, and I am totally pumped for that fight.
For sure. And we don't have any more news topics after the fights we're pumped for, so this will close out. Thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate all the wonderfully positive comments we get all the time. Follow us on Twitter at the MMA Podcast. Visit themmapodcast.com. You guys really keep us going. We're 41 episodes into the MMA Podcast. We're like 30 episodes into the MMA Roundtable, and you guys are definitely keeping the wind in the sails. We couldn't appreciate it anymore. Like we said, visit the MMA Podcast. We're going to be doing this every Friday, 6 to 8 Eastern. The MMA Roundtable is going to be every Thursday at 5 Eastern. Ramses, once again, what is the motherfucking word on the street?
You have to follow the Aunt Jimmy Show on Twitter. You have to do this very soon because something very bad, devastating is going to happen to the United States very soon. That is the word on the streets, a rumor that I'm hearing. And the only way that you're going to survive is if you follow me on Twitter. I know it doesn't make any sense at all, but you gotta do it. Follow the Aunt Jimmy Show on Twitter, or else you and everybody you love, it's gonna go away. You're all gonna die. That's the word on the street.
And if the FBI is listening to this, please do not interpret those as terroristic threats. Definitely check out The Aunt Jimmy Show on Twitter. Check out C. Lowenstein on Twitter. That's Chris, who I hope has a fucking kick-ass birthday. The remaining 2.5 hours he has over in Cali. And definitely follow Yao at Yao. That's YAO_the truth. All one word. Once again, you guys keep us going. Next week, next Friday, we're going to have on from MMA Insider Mike Straka. Definitely seen a lot of interviews with him, so I'm looking forward to getting the truth from him. We have other guests in the work. I know we were promising Joey Diaz for the longest time, and we are still working on it. I want to give him time. He just had a baby. I don't want to be down his throat, but we're going to get him sometime soon, goddammit. Yeah, we really love doing it. We really love the guests we have on. We love just chatting MMA with each other. And we love that you're listening and taking part on the journey. Until next Thursday and Friday.
Can I say one last thing?
You can interrupt me. Yeah, sure. It's your fucking birthday. Go ahead.
Listen, I just wanted to say thanks, everybody, like he said, for following us. These guys are the truth. Yao the truth, word on the street. Follow these gentlemen. With Yao, you can see him progressing as a martial artist. Ramses will break your heart and make you a follower. And Jake, the MMA Podcast, is someone I call a really good friend, as well as these guys. He's hilarious. Check them all out. There's a reason we're doing this thing. There's a reason you guys are listening to us, and we're going to keep on doing it. And thanks for joining me on my birthday. And I had a fucking blast. I love you guys.
Fuck yes, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you next week. Thursday for the Roundtable, Friday for the MMA Podcast. And until then, follow us on Twitter and all that good shit. And we'll see you next week. We gone. We gone!